Okay.
Plant my food.
Oh, Anita, are we ready? Tell me when we're ready.
So that's all about winter is
Hello. That was the initial late bell. Tardy bell. You have 30 seconds to get into your chair. Okay. So we've got. Okay. All right. So welcome today to the New Hanover County Schools Strategic Plan Work Session / Retreat. For all of you in the viewing audience, thank you for your interest and your support of the Board of Education. The strategic plan is the tool that we use to maintain focus by the Board of Education and the school district on its priorities for strengthening education for all students at all corners of our county. We are so very excited to have with us today Dr. Pamela Palmer and Miss Nancy Hunter, who are sitting in the back there. You'll see their faces a lot. They are from NHP Consulting, and they are going to lead us through the discussion of and next steps for our strategic plan. We are also very pleased to have with us Superintendent Faust and his cabinet, so recognize them, because we believe strongly that developing the strategic plan should be a collaborative partnership between the BOE and the administration. Both parties need to understand and buy in to the plan in order for us to implement it effectively. So there's nobody here that I need to remind about masks, so we'll skip that. So since today marks the 36th anniversary of the Challenger's failed mission, sad, but it has been proclaimed by NASA and many states as Krista McAuliffe Day. I would like to share a quote with you from Miss McAuliffe, the humble and courageous social studies teacher from New Hampshire, remembered as a heroine by her professional colleagues for attempting to touch the future. Reach for the stars, she says. May your future only be limited by your dreams. Today, we have the opportunity to focus on teaching and learning and preparing our students for life after high school, whether it be for post-secondary education, the workforce, or the military. We are reaching for New Hanover County stars and establishing the foundation of our dreams and goals for the next 5 years. So Dr. Palmer and Ms. Hunter, let's go, throttle up.
Thank you so much for having us here, for giving us your time and your knowledge today. I think this is going to be an exciting process. I hope that it will be. We have some time together, and we want to share with you some information about the strategic plan assessment, the process, and then we're going to turn it over to you to do the work. What this is all about really today is a work session for the board to establish the direction based on the information that we'll share with you and your own knowledge on where this plan is going to take us. So we are really excited to share this information with you, to let you plug in. Yeah.
I made a blunder. I forgot to call the roll. So could we just take one step and do that real quick? For me to call the roll for our board so we can call us officially to order. Sorry, I'm a
Yes,
newbie.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Bowie, would you please call the roll for us?
Stephanie Adams.
She's muted, but I think she's saying here. Okay. I'm reading her lips. She says here. Okay.
Nelson Boyer.
Here.
Judy Justice. Hugh McManus. Stephanie Walker.
Here.
Pete Wildeboer.
Present.
And Stephanie Craybill.
Here. So thank you, Ms. Hunter. I apologize for cutting you off because you were throttling up.
That's okay. We're here to do business, and so we want to do it, as our Presbyterian church says, decently and in order. So thank you. Again, we're going to share with you the information that we got from the assessment, a little bit about the process, and as you've heard from, if you remember from when we first talked to you, we see the plan not as a roadmap that you just put on a shelf, but as a GPS. So today is going to be the board's job to plug in the destination on that GPS. Then we'll be working further with staff, and so we're so grateful that Dr. Faust and the cabinet can be here. We'll be working further with us to fine-tune the actual navigation charts and to drive us in the direction you want. Let's start by giving you all some information. First, I want to share with you, this is kind of our covenant of engagement. We want to be sure that everyone is focused today, and so we're asking if you would please not be checking in with your electronics. If you have something urgent, please excuse yourself, but really give your full attention. Please listen actively. Please assume positive intent from everyone, and speak from your experience. Be mindful of time, because we do have a very short window. Please value everyone's truth and experience. And just know that this is a time for you to enjoy, to be positive, and to think of your future and how we can get there. So our purpose today is to share the process, the results of the assessment, to recommend some strategic goals for you to focus on and get your consensus on those goals. And then we're going to ask for you to go to work in small groups and provide a direction for each of those goals. Do I need to stop? Okay. And then we'll, after we get consensus on that direction, we'll explain the next steps and staff support. So our process, we have completed the first part, which is the assessment, the longest lasting part. And we are now in the second part, which we will complete today, most of that phase, where we build the vision and the framework. And then we're going to move into the detailed strategy building with the staff, cabinet level staff. We will come back to you. That will be completed by February. And we will be coming back to you in March with a plan and presentation. Along with that, we will be sure that we have some metrics for accountability. I know this was one of the comments we heard on the previous plan, that it had many good ideas, but it was hard to use in terms of accountability. So we're going to share some metrics and a dashboard with you that you can review periodically to be sure we're still going in the right direction. Now, just a quick recap. We've been through this assessment process. You notice there was a gap over the summer for a while when we lost the communications officer and did not have that lead, and that was a slowdown for us because we had been asked to and wanted to work with that person to be sure our outreach internally and externally matched up with your communication strategy. So as soon as Josh came on board, we got that team up and running. We have been able to go back and complete that assessment. Now today we're at the bottom of this chart in the little white space, the board strategic planning retreat. What follows after that, we already have scheduled for Monday for the cabinet to drill down in a little more detail on the work that we complete today. So here's the results of the assessment, just quickly so you know, and in particular that last community-wide survey. The first thing, I think the most important thing we want to share with you is that throughout the comments, all through the assessment, there has been a really common thread, and that is a heartfelt desire for every student to get a quality education in a safe, nurturing environment. No matter people's views on many different issues, that was a common thread with everyone. So I want to ask you just to hold that thought for a moment and know how much everyone cares for these students and how much they believe you can help these students. Just quickly, the methodology. We did a detailed interview process and some very strategic surveying. I'm trying to get representative samples. We came up with some major themes, and then we went back out to the community to ask everyone to check in on those themes and talk about anything else on their minds. Out of that, I believe we shared this chart with you before. We listed a number of top issues that we thought were important, and we kind of rated those in terms of how many people were focused on some of these issues. And that brought us to the sense of these areas as emerging opportunities for strategic focus. We shared these with you previously at the same meeting where we publicly asked the community to weigh in on these and tell us if these are the things that are on your mind that you want the school system to work on. So we shared these with the community through an open link. This was our second phase of surveying. Anyone could respond to this survey. It went out in the community. We had over 5,000 responses. And you can see that there was strong agreement around these areas for strategic focus. I will comment on the community partnerships that you'll see in a moment. We did not have quite as many community members sign in, and I think that's partly because in the initial phase, we had emailed surveys directly to many of the community partners, and they answered directly there, so they may not have weighed in again here. Just a quick look at the details of the study. The majority of correspondents who answered were parents. We also had a good number of students chime in, as well as staff, and a few community members, but again, as I said, by and large, I think they gave their input in the first phase. So this is just showing you graphically. If you can't read the screen, it may be clearer in your handout, and I know Josh has this, and we can provide extra copies in a larger format if you need them and want to look at them. Student safety, you see there's clear agreement. The top line is strongly agree, the next line is agree. Equity, diversion, and inclusion, again, you see the strong top line and second line. Family engagement, again, you see the strength of the priorities. Community partnerships, as I said, we had fewer community members weighing in, but still that was agreed as a priority. The supportive environment for teachers and staff, I think, also came up as a big area, not only from the teachers and staff, but also from students and parents. And then we had an extra chance where we just threw out some of the words that had come up and asked, do you think this should be a priority? And what we found was there were a number of responses across these words that all kind of mapped into the groups that we had identified as areas for opportunity. And then finally, we just opened, yes?
Would you take a moment to go back to that last slide and just read those things out loud? Because they are kind of small, even when we looked online. Just so our viewing public can just hear those words, if you don't mind.
Okay, let me, I actually have a large print copy I'll go back to and read from.
I need Mr. Magoo glasses to read some of these.
Yeah, I'm
things.
sorry, I need yours. Okay, so the areas that come up, the top one is mental health. That's kind of cross-cutting through a number of issues. The second one is communication. Class size is the third line. Leadership is the next. Arts education. I'll just read on down. Facilities, community trust, athletics, the complaint process, suspensions, board governance, and I have an additional thought is the last one, and we're just about to look at the additional thoughts.
Thank you.
So the additional thoughts, other priorities, there were hundreds of responses to this, and what we did was to take those and use word mapping software to map them against the focus opportunity areas that we had already asked about, and we found that most of those comments mapped into one of those areas in a kind of strategic level, not necessarily a high goal area, but strategies within those levels. And would you like me to read these? I don't know if you can read them out.
I think these are, can everyone read these? Yeah, I think this is legible. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So you can see, I won't go through all of them, but there were a lot of specific thoughts, and these lines represent many groupings of thoughts. So multiple comments in these particular areas that we have captured and we can share, but I just, for today's work, want you to be aware that all these things are things that people are sharing as things they see they want you to focus on within these areas of priority. So going back again to these key priority areas that we have looked at, we're still feeling even more affirmed with the community input that these are the key areas for strategic focus. So what we have here is academic performance, that's achieving high performance by all students and providing many avenues for academic and career exploration. Student safety and wellness, providing a safe, welcoming, and supportive physical and emotional environment for all students. A supportive teacher and staff environment, providing teachers and staff with the tools and support they need to give excellence to their students. Equity, diversity, and inclusion, that's ensuring that every student feels valued and included and has access to the resources they need to excel. Family engagement, that's engaging parents, caregivers, and family to encourage students and enrich school settings. And community partnerships, strengthening and enhancing relationships with community partners to support our students and schools. So these are the areas that we see as areas for opportunity for your strategic focus to move the schools to the next level. So let me pause here and ask for your thoughts about these areas or any questions you might have about the process. Yes.
So under equity, diversity, and inclusion, is it possible that we can consider adding after students and staff so that our staff also feels included and we have a good diverse staff and they also have access to the resources to excel?
We can include whatever we want.
Right, but I was just thinking, students is where we oftentimes focus, but, we want to make sure we have an inclusive, diverse staff as well.
And thank you, that did come up as well.
Okay.
In the comments, to be sure that the staff is included in that.
And if I could echo that with the student safety and wellness, I think we also need to look at our staff in that area too. Teachers coming to school and feeling safe at school so that they can do their best job, as well as, wellness, and so maybe adding, the staff to that section too.
So my thinking is, since we're adding students and staff, should we also have teachers included in that?
Right, yes.
Is
Well,
it-
staff would be
Staff would be-
teachers, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Staff is big, like all of
Okay.
us.
Yeah, everybody.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure that's.
Teacher assistants, administration, everybody.
So is there sort of a general consensus that these big areas, and by the way, you'll have an opportunity to fine-tune these words and thoughts as we go into our small group work also. The other thing we wanted to share with you is that as we do this work today, we want to get the best thoughts about the direction for each area. One thing that has happened a number of times in strategic planning processes is once you get into development of specific strategies and action steps, it may be that we'll come back to you and say, hey, we see that these two things go together, or this is too big, we need to split it apart. So just know going in that today's work is not the last word necessarily, but we feel like these are important areas to get your direction in. Does anyone not feel comfortable with looking at these as areas of focus?
I feel comfortable with these as a starting point, but, to your previous statement about areas that are a little bit, the strategic plan, I'm thinking, 5 years. And I kind of feel like in addition to these, or maybe in place of one of these, we need something specific on fixing the mental and emotional damage and the learning loss caused by the pandemic. I really feel like that has to be something that we sort of laser focus on for the next 5 years.
And so would that not be perhaps included under academic performance?
Right, it's included under academic performance,
Right.
but I think it needs to be its own piece.
I wonder if, as we do our small group work, that we could keep that in mind and split it out potentially to, it could be that that becomes a strategic area within that, or it could be that it is split apart.
Nelson, say it again so I can write it down, please.
So again, my thought is, for the next 5 years, that's really going to be such a huge area for our district, fixing the learning loss, helping students readjust, dealing with the emotional trauma, the emotional turmoil so many of them have had over the past 2.5 years. I'm just not sure it goes under, student wellness. It's certainly in there, but it's so big that I wonder if we don't want to focus on it specifically.
Yeah, because if I'm understanding you guys correctly, that each one of these areas will have its own action steps. And so that might go, maybe that's an action step under each of the 5 goals, the 6 goals. I don't know, but that just, but thank you.
To your point, Ms. Crable, it could very well be a point or a strategy that is included across all areas. And so it would be a component of each of those areas if that's what you want to.
That's what I was thinking, but
agree to.
each of our groups can talk about that when we get together.
We also had some discussion around equity, diversity, and inclusion as well, in terms of should it be its own entity or should it actually be across all areas, which we know that it shows up in all areas. But again, as we kind of work in the small groups, we can kind of capture today how the mental health piece as a result of the pandemic, how it kind of organically emerges in your dialogue as you're trying to work through that. We can tell you that in looking at the feedback data and information, it came up a lot. And it was a particular area when we had the open-ended question at the end, it was a specific focal point. And so our thinking is that it would be captured heavily under student safety and wellness and have its own strategy, but it can also be included in the others.
Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. I can tell y'all are already thinking very deeply about where this is going. And also to share that once the plan, even after the plan is complete, I think COVID is probably a perfect illustration of one of those things that you couldn't foresee and that would cause you to go back and change your plan as you see how things go. So I think to be flexible is really a key, and I do think it's important to keep these ideas in mind. Sometimes we do go back and add goals because we see it's such a cross-cutting issue. The other thing to think about, and I'll just share this in terms of some of the considerations that we're thinking of, is these don't all fall neatly into your staff functional divisions. So there's some overlap and cross-cutting issues, and some impact more than one division, and more than one may impact. I mean, the staff all will be engaged in almost all of these. So, again, I think it's important to be flexible about these, and as we tease out the actual direction for everyone, it may be that in your goal statements, you want to call out these specific things to be sure they're captured in an area, but many of these things will be captured as strategies within the areas. A lot of the things that are more focused and specific will show up there. Do you all feel ready to work?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, what we'll ask you to do is start out with these. We'll ask you to start out with these areas of strategies. And we've tried to, I'm going to call out some names for small groups. We're going to have a group focus on each area, one area per small group, and ask that group to be thinking through that strategic direction. What are you plugging in to the GPS? Just as this morning I plugged into mine, the Board of Education building. What are you going to plug in as your destination? Where do you want the district to go on these things? So I'm going to take the liberty of asking certain people to work in certain groups that we think fit your interest. I think we can be flexible as well if someone feels very awkward in their group or wishes to be in another. But we thought, as I asked, just wait till I call everybody out, and then I'll ask that everyone sort of group themselves near others that are in their group, but wait till I say them all so that people aren't running into each other. For academic performance, we were thinking Dr. Faust and Mr. Wiltebor. Student safety and wellness, we're thinking Julie Varnum, Eddie Anderson, Stephanie Craybill. The supportive teacher and staff environment, we're looking to Dr. Barnes. We thought also Mary Hazel Small there, and Judy Justice, if you all would be interested in that one. Equity, diversity, and inclusion, we're thinking Dr. Smith and maybe Stephanie Walker, if you would work there. For family engagement, we'll look to Josh Smith and Nelson Bailey. Would you do that? And then for community partnerships, we're going to ask if Don Brenson, would you do that? I know that may not be your direct area, but thinking through the tools for that. And Ms. Adams, if you would do that one as well, we'll find a way to get you hooked up with Dawn, and you two can work on that.
All right, that works.
And
Thank
as you
you.
get in, I'm going to climb off in a minute, and Pamela's going to tell you what your directions are as you get into your small groups. I will let her go ahead and say the directions first, and then we'll leave some directions up on the screen for you as you get into your groups.
Excuse me, Nancy. Before you make that transition, if I could ask, just to re-cage for this group and for folks maybe watching, starting with the end in mind, the end result isn't just a document that we're going to refer to and hope that we're making progress, right? So could you just take a moment to, thank you, just to describe, if we get this right, and we have these strategies, and these strategies sit in our respective divisions, and those divisions report to the superintendent. And just kind of, can you tease that out a little bit? Because I think if we're not careful, the intuition is we're going to end up with a really great PDF document, and that's absolutely not the case at all.
Exactly. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to that. So what we're wanting to do today is a broad, overarching direction. Like I said, this is the Board of Education building. It's where I wanted my GPS to take me today. That's what we're working on today. But as soon as we're done with that, we're going to start to drill into some strategies, some action steps, responsible parties, timelines, and metrics of accountability. And that last will be the key to be sure that you're staying on course, or to help you see if you need to change course. So what our goal is that we will, after today, and we'll say this again at the end, but our plan is that after today, we will get with the staff, the cabinet level staff, take today's results and drill down and make those into some strategies, action steps, put some metrics behind them. Just as an example, and you don't necessarily need to use these, but we noticed with the report Dr. Faust did after 90 days, he stated 3 specific measurable goals in academic performance. That's what we're going to ask staff to put on these goals. And then we can come back to you with a dashboard, and not with hundreds of numbers, because I know you all are probably inundated with data, but with a short dashboard so you can see at a glance, are we moving in the right direction? Are we still going north? Or have we turned off? Do we need to readjust? So those will be coming back to you. That will be the last thing that we do, is present you with the accountability metrics and ask you to set an accountability schedule, whether it's quarterly, every other month, or how often you want to see the measures that support the goals that you put in place today. And that's really what keeps it active and keeps it in front of you, because otherwise it is a beautiful roadmap. But we want it to be more than that. We want it to be flexible. And again, you may come up with something in the next 2 to 3 years that makes you change your direction, and that's fine too. This plan is to be a tool for you. It's a tool, and it needs to work. So that's what we're hopeful of coming up with. And so while today we're not asking you to dive deep and go into the weeds and come up with the measurable metrics for every goal area, we are wanting you to set that direction so the staff knows how to get those metrics for you. Okay?
And about how much time, just so we all keep our focus, about how much time are we going to be doing this before we come back?
We'll probably do about 40 minutes.
Okay.
We'll allow you about that much time, and we'll be going around. Dr. Palmer is really the expert in getting you to do your best thinking. I'm the one who comes around and says 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, so that we work together to try to be sure you get your best thoughts out there, but then we will come back together to discuss after that point in time. Okay, I'm going to turn it over and let you talk about the goals.
And we're actually a little ahead of time, so that's good.
Yes.
You know, we have some minutes that we didn't count for, so that's great. So we're going to do this work in two parts. We're going to have you hone in on the area that you were assigned. Do we need to do those again? Does everybody know where we are? So you're going to spend some intrapersonal time just thinking about that area. We've given you a worksheet for you to just take notes as you think about the particular area that you were assigned as it relates to, now I walk around, so it's going to be hard for me to stay at this microphone. So you've got a worksheet in the top, on the top part of it, you're going to write your focus area. So if your focus area was community partnerships, that's what you're going to write at the top. And then we want you to begin to think about, just in general, you know, what kind of actions do we need to take, and your thoughts about how we would complete those actions. So this is just your area, because we only have an hour, right? We just have an hour. So we want you to hone in on your area. If you have thoughts about other areas, you have Post-it notes, I think, are around for you to take notes. Kind of label those for us in terms of the area, and we will collect those. But it's very important for us to stay focused, right, on your particular area so we can capture that feedback. We also kind of shared with you a goal type in that third column, just to get you to kind of think about, well, what kind of goal is this that we're trying to craft? Is it a goal where there's a tangible product in the end when we complete it? Is there a service or some kind of resource that's going to be available? Is it a goal where performance is a part of what we want to accomplish and or behavior change? If it's a focus on behavior change or performance, then we all know we've got to think about what instrument is going to help us to be able to prove that, whatever that change is. So that looks a little different. We're not going in that direction per se today, but we just want you to be thinking about that as you're working on your goal. Then in the middle part of this worksheet, we have a section for you to begin taking notes about this particular focus area in terms of what is it that you want to accomplish and how we would measure it, and is it relevant, and those kinds of things. But again, we're going to do about 5 to 7 minutes of intrapersonal work. So you're going to be sitting in your space, thinking about this particular area, and just jotting down what comes to mind first. In the latter part of your worksheet is the outcome. Now, we're not working on outcomes today, I know. But a lot of times when we're thinking about goals, we start to also think about outcomes. So we want you to capture that. So the question then is, well, why are we trying to pursue this goal anyway? Why are we trying to do this? And so you can take notes there. When you get in your groups, you should have some information to work with, because we've spent this 5 to 7 minutes just kind of getting into this space and thought process about your focus area. So we have in your packet and on the screen, we're starting with the focus area, right? We're going to state the action. I got to take this mask off because I feel like I'm breathing heavy. We're going to state the action and then how to complete the action. Of course, these are what many of us kind of see as SMART goals. And then, of course, we've added this piece of information about goal type. So 5 to 7 minutes you'll spend working with this. The time is 1:08. And so how about we go ahead and give it about 10 minutes? Okay? So at 1:18, I'm going to come back to the microphone here, and then you're going to break into your groups, and you're going to begin to craft one kind of worksheet together. Does that make sense? Or one goal, and we'll use flip chart, paper, and all that, but I'll give you those instructions then. Are we ready? All right, time is ticking. So we have 5 more minutes. We're halfway of our 10 minutes. So we have about 1 more minute. So that ends our time for our individual work. If we look at the clock, you know, we're at 1:20. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick break, a quick stretch break. We're going to come back 1:25, 1:30, somewhere abouts. I'll start right back at 1:30. We'll spend 30 minutes working in our small groups. You'll bring the information that you just crafted. And then from 2 to 2:15, we'll have some discussion. And then we'll 2:15 to 2:30 wrap up and next steps, okay? So let's take that break and we'll come right back at 1:30. Yes, and when you come back at 1:30, go ahead and get in your groups.
Dr. Palmer has something to say to us.
We are at 1:31, and so we'll have 30 minutes to do this work.
Oh, okay.
If you would write your final goal statement on your
We started early.
paper, because Mark
You don't have to divide it in first. Because it looked like I was writing the same thing over and over.
Absolutely.
Hey, folks, just a minute. Ms. Palmer, Dr. Palmer has something else for us.
I just want to make sure that we're all kind of understanding.
Okay.
So you're working now, you have notes, right, as to what you determined, as it relates to the items in the worksheet. We're going to write one goal statement on the flip chart paper. We're going to collect those flip chart sheets. Also, if your group wants a clean sheet of the worksheet and you want to put your joint notes there, we will collect that. We'll collect that. And we would also like to collect your individual notes, but that's your choice. Because we have to take this back and work with it as well. And we'll be working with the staff on Monday. So that would be real helpful. Yeah, what's-
Just to push back a little bit,
So I had that, not as well, not as you have.
There's-
Dearly.
there are a lot of different variables that come into our goal. This won't necessarily be the only strategic goal for this thing, but we should try to narrow our focus to one thing, not all the things.
That's right.
All right?
And you can parking lot those other items and just give us.
All right.
The staff will be around.
Yep.
Right. Well, yeah, this one is pretty.
Well, I sort of,
But we still need to make it measurable and attainable.
That's what I was trying to do.
So we still need to have a strategy listed.
This one, yeah.
Oh, so we are looking at the overall overarching sort of concept, and then we'll, but I made 10 ideas. All right, got it.
State the action, complete the action, and then goal is like more of the action. So that's
But if we're making a SMART goal for it to be measured, the measurement is really gonna come on Monday. Okay, so that wasn't really clear. No, but that's what we were struggling with, is that, you know, this goal is the overarching perfect sort of concept, but it doesn't have the measurements in there. Because, all right, so these are actually SART goals
and
then.
also the overall cost of living. No, opposite, the goals are, I mean, they're serious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the goals are. And I know it's but I think in the long run, somehow create a culture of.
Well, and my only concern is when you try to attain 6 goals, you end up attaining no goals. You know what I mean?
That's all I.
I'd rather have 3 that we do great than 6 that we do okay. Does that make sense? All right, I got it. All right.
You got 5 years.
Good point.
Yeah, I got things like that on that page, because I remember like, how do you know, that's third.
Well, we have to do this in an absorbable, not maintainable, but, you know, fashion that can continue to go instead of, yeah, okay, got it. So, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Very specific. And
All right, so,
all this that might be in frame.
so I have, obviously PD, we talked about that. Central office responsiveness and support.
Right?
Advancement opportunities, which is kind of like PD2. Reimbursable degree enhancement. Comprehensive collaboration protocols, where we're ensuring that we continue to make sure that the voices are heard. Well-implemented strategic plan, which you don't have have a goal about this school year for this
And then like
strategic
Shaq and
plan.
say, "This is task
Like I've been
force."
sitting down with my
Found
folks in
my
HR and
highlights.
trying to say, what are
And
our
that's where I
department
came here.
goals?
Like,
But until I can really get
very
these goals, I
strong.
want to make sure they reflect back some sort of access to resources and support. So it sounds like
But I made it in that.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Yeah,
I
and
the separateness of our goal. You know, so the first thing I thought of was the wellness camps and chat tables. You know, each school has what we do, and they have specific goals for students, staff, and community. So it has different in it. So I would see us as like, let's just incorporate that.
A lot of these were already included, but I also
And
had
then I was looking at from the safety point of view.
networking opportunities. So even if it's like during the day, either finance or out of school, we then have
Programs, you
opportunities
know,
to
for our
talk
staff.
to each
So I think
other, across schools to be able to
also
talk
the
to
training.
them. So,
Young trainers, Title IX trainers, to do the same. I didn't write that in, but I should have safety training.
and then also, and I don't know how to measure any of this, but I also have building personal
And then I
relationships with students and staff.
Personnel, like, do we have
To
enough?
make sure that, because I just feel like if you have those relationships, the conversations happen more easily.
In all honesty, that's the main thing. Safety teams, you know, just, I don't know how, I'm just thinking about the things we had, not how to make them a goal.
Right now, what I'm seeing.
And the third thing was,
Differentiation.
the eliminating the full suspension in there, but I had that down through programming, through our.
So were they scattered?
Plan, so I was trying to so we all approached it as different aspects. I wrote down what we do.
Professional things.
I think, so the things that should cover, I feel like you can find the things.
Right, and they absolutely.
Like I stated the action of.
And that's every, I mean, buses I
But
have.
SEL
Every morning I do.
that's the little piece that we must that's that final relationship piece.
That just starts off complete this.
The positive comes forward. That includes alternative services, it includes alternative programming. It includes,
They all had ideas that might need to be in the
it includes NHCS and graduating response model, that in restorative justice. All of that is gonna be
New
in
Hanover
bullying,
County
prevention,
Schools
bullying,
will develop a
intervention.
supportive staff
All that
environment
stuff
by
goes into
identifying
like
the areas
the positive campus.
that need improvement
all
and
years
supply
ago.
the
That's not, these needed, we have to have
and
people.
implement
Yes.
the
Because we
changes
have two.
But then we've got crisis response that.
so that the staff
SROs,
will be able to perform their duties in the most effective
any
manner.
type of like emergency plans. But then I've got health departments as well that include, and all those are school-based mental health, counseling.
So what if we,
Oh, yeah, this was, I just wrote this in like 5 minutes. I wasn't trying to tear it down. I just, what's your goal? So that students can achieve quality education. That would be the outcome, would literally be, you know, how.
If you want a supportive staff environment, that's a goal. You actually want.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it presents all, but, and basically it's making this into,
That's a strategy.
it's making this into a goal.
Strategy.
Because I think we're trying to get, I think this, well, I think we have to. I think we have to teach the weeds, get into the weeds, get into the weeds.
They're the
In order to come up with one, we gotta get them. And I was thinking like, of all, I was trying to figure a way to
I think the goal is a supportive staff environment.
get them in a helicopter at least 10,000. Yeah,
Be effective.
it's not 30,000. So I think we're at
so I
10,000.
tried to group these.
How do we get 30,000?
So what if we said something like, New Hanover County Schools will develop a supportive staff environment by implementing comprehensive
I'm down at 10 or,
efficacy.
I'm at 10, I'm at 5, yeah.
This is 10,000 feet.
But I'm on the ground, what we are, yeah, I'm on the
Because it's
ground.
such a,
We're at the ground.
Yeah, I guess you're
it's such
right.
a broad, you have 20 things.
I think that
Yeah.
So we're just.
But she did say specific
everything.
But then she does measurable out. So I think Judy's actually the one doing it right.
Okay. The measurable, see, the outcome would be the measurable. Well, along the way though, you have to be measurable too.
Right.
Ew, that's so hard.
But then she just came over here and said that's fine.
Okay, so let's not.
Well, what about this? Can you add so that our students
So you said about facilities and services.
are,
Will and should, will and
to ensure our students can achieve a quality education
Hello.
by having a highly trained, highly effective educator. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I think we want to put retention and,
Say that one more time,
oh, I don't know if I can say it twice.
I think it's highly effective that, you say like.
By highly effective.
When you said that, I was like, oh my God,
Highly
I wrote
effective, well-trained, quality staff, something like that.
on the enhancing the teacher. Yeah, well, that's what we're all about. That's it. Is how do we?
Because I think this is a retention goal, but retention isn't the goal. Retention is the outcome of doing this. Does that make sense? Like if we do this well, retention takes care of itself.
Not at the big level, only
Highly effective, highly effective.
like AV, you know, kind of.
So SEL training is very different.
With the, not just training. We gotta have
Right, and they're all wrong. I mean, that's right. Like, I really think,
Because, we talked about, is this really even?
It's everybody, yeah.
So I didn't even put.
and that's what you do. They say it's
I copied, I took it off.
So.
I don't know what we're sitting. I think what we're supposed to do is we're going to take the board's overarching goals and say, here are our charges. Right? Now, what are the steps we're going to do to make these goals a reality? That's where these things, I guess, are. I do want to say that these aren't small goals.
Yeah, just what you're sort of asking about us for us to do is not necessarily.
And then help serve that.
The other thing we were focusing on, but again.
So they really aren't goals.
Well, this is pretty smart, I'm that, and yet you just said not necessarily, look, see, that's very broad, but it works.
It gives, like when I was talking earlier about my staff developing their own goals, that gives me an obvious, I can put it under one umbrella for the person. I think the goal is that the board's goals are broad.
A1.
My department's goals are specific, right? So the specific goal that I have in the effort.
So I always thought we had goal, your strategy, your objective, to meet your goal, and your objective is what was measured. Was that not how this works?
I want them to forward to it, I don't want them to give it to us.
Food places, food banks, so that because it's child can eat better, so they're writing it because they get it for free. So I don't know if that's a semantic.
You're a detail person.
You attain it.
Okay. That's an even better word.
Oh, no, hey.
Your left wing threw up a flare there.
I mean, I really do, but I'm not trying to disagree.
The child nutrition is right in there.
It's a
Yes,
I
yeah.
almost want to say provided by
as a requirement and a necessary component.
by ensuring
The child nutrition and
highly effective,
taking
engaged.
the wellness part of this, when SEL is wellness, and girls are wellness and health.
You don't need to add all this extra stuff.
Maybe it takes us going back and
Is like a physical response to it. But you guys don't.
Otherwise, you're not.
Management.
but highly effective also.
So,
She's right, highly effective.
right, yes, so that's what we're talking about. Yeah, this is all our.
That's how
Something
they
different,
use it.
yeah, so safety.
What is the next?
Not a highly effective staff to ensure pay.
So let's not forget that it's.
You could say recruit and retain highly effective staff so that students
And
can.
that's where you go back to.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
To get that highly effective staff, you gotta recruit them, and that's gonna be given, like this is training, that's gonna be given. You can tell, you guys are really into the details, and I'm over here looking at.
That's why there's the necessity for.
That's what we do, I guess.
There's one clear message. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's why there's the.
We have supportive staff environment, how we
One message that out, court of
There's gotta be a support.
It was that we had to, so we had supportive staff environment, and then we also said.
Yeah, I do have.
Highly effective staff.
Okay.
So we could do that, supportive, highly effective staff, right?
And once more, in order to have a supportive staff, you gotta have effective staff, you gotta be
So
supportive.
supportive though was not the staff, that was to make sure the staff was.
And supporting the staff environment, because, I mean, that's what we're hearing, mega time right now, it's like, we're not getting what we need, we're just so overwhelmed.
like, working on was actually called supportive teacher and staff.
And, you know,
That's all
just
we
simply
need.
not, I mean, I've worked in there. So, again, I think,
Everybody got a
that,
several.
you know, where the temperature. But again, you know, and I think the whole idea is toward that, because
Oh, I can't say that.
you're measuring the staff
Because when that was there, the things I was thinking about, like insurance, what our boss told us.
Well, to do this, this is a goal statement, we have to identify the areas that need improvement, apply those resources.
Right now, we're just trying to get.
Okay, you're
supportive
all
staff to
right,
get-
she is right.
Get supportive staff.
I think that's critical.
The highly effective staff will.
You know, at the lowest tier,
Provide
have
students
somebody
a quality education.
To obtain a quality education.
I don't say are able to attain, students obtain. Students obtain, I wouldn't say are able to attain, yeah.
So the goal,
These are all
the
strategies.
big part is that we're supporting staff.
Okay, and we supportive environment that will enable our staff to perform their duties in the most effective way.
We are it, right? We are the
Okay.
At the highest level of performance, at a high level of efficacy,
Well, that would still be, again, the most effective method.
right, but I thought it might be, I was just trying to work through it.
Because that is
This is really hard
to
to,
get
we're struggling to not get into the strategy work.
We're trying to focus on the broad picture, because I know what the school thing is. We all know that, but we're weak here, keep trying to come back.
What they gave us. So right here's what they gave us. Right, so that's the area that we're focused on, that we're trying to find a goal for.
He's got some good ones, but he's got some wrong ones.
So, well, and I mean, I'm pretty.
because that's,
Well, I just,
What you see is this,
it's not obvious.
because you're breaking rules or whatever, but
I think part of it too is the direction clear to everybody,
that is
so that it's not like, I think it means this, and you think it means that, you know.
So it should be understandable.
we're working towards this for 5 years. Or are we working
So
towards
this is what we're trying to reword.
this as a strategy?
because
So
this
I
is what
can
was
make
on the PowerPoint. That category. And what we fall really.
Because that's on the power.
So then this would be the secondary, and you want this to be the primary.
Yeah, and we get staff on Monday, right? We're gonna
environment that will enable
this, but we're saying, how do we achieve this?
so that they will be able to perform their duties in the most effective method possible. That goes down to although that's pretty much what it is.
Well, yeah, but,
Which makes
yeah,
sense.
that's the line between goals and strategies and tactics.
It's not like we're starting a
Sometimes,
brand new school.
you know, when you write a strategy, when you write a goal, you know, it's a goal. And when you write a tactic, you know, or you write a strategy, is that really the thing you do day to day, or is it, you know, really goal is.
Ensures management, but you're right, because we've already got people.
We need to stay on it.
And that's where we can provide them with all the resources.
So this could be our second
Supporting
like if there's an
staff environment. New Hanover County Schools will ensure a supportive staff environment
but they want
that will,
That'll cost
so that they,
Yes.
so the staff
Just good handwriting?
will be able to perform their duties.
It's on.
That's the outcome. That's where the highly effective, so that the staff will be able to perform their duties in a highly effective method, using highly, or implementing highly effective methods.
We are at 1:52 is where we are in terms of time.
No,
I don't think
so.
so. I think that I think what they said they wanted, what they really want, maybe two different things.
Exactly. I agree. New Hanover County Schools will ensure a supportive staff environment so that the staff will be able to perform their duties using highly effective methods available. Yeah, that's where we get down here, you almost put the outcome in there.
Yeah, so yeah, I do too, but they got two separate things there.
The only thing about methods sort of bridges like strategies. Well, this is going to say that they perform at the highest level, not just with their methods, but in their behavior, in their interactions, in their relationships. And, you know, I wonder if methods might be a little restrictive.
This is a little one of the things we have a little bit yesterday, now, but things like, because if we have to work with that, it's putting on the roll call. If we do that, I think I'll put that under staff, we're gonna say.
Perform at their optimal level for student learning.
Okay.
Put that up here.
Or this would be one of the strategies that gets
And I would actually say at the highest level of efficacy. But then again, that's not usually.
Let's not confuse her, let her put that down. You had good. Optimal level. To perform the optimal level.
like people, girl.
Any more thoughts on this?
No, I think
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm restating it to put all five in here, but then.
Learning, performance, what y'all say? Supportive staff environment.
Because that's where we're talking about, hardware and, cameras, that's the real stuff.
There's something else I was supposed to say before I got to.
No, but the goal,
That's what she's trying to do right here. Yeah, I was like trying to say that this is.
Perform their duties to the
Maybe A and B. You know what, I'm gonna do this right
How about I just put
now.
this
I'll
on?
do this, and now.
I don't know what order you wanted to do it in.
now we've got shift copies.
So, now we wanna take.
Okay, we have,
this,
okay, so
and we wanna do two.
That one is hard work.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, can I throw one more thing in?
Well,
NHCS will ensure a supportive, I don't want to say staff environment, because this goal is about
so
supportive.
let's do it this way.
Yeah, so that one is gonna be more of a strategy.
So for people, let's make sure this is specific piece, and we're gonna be, like, what do we wanna do for people? We want to.
Oh, supportive teacher and staff environment. Okay, I thought it said student.
Yeah, let's focus on.
We gotta talk about.
No, that's great, but I thought it said student.
Yeah, ends with students.
Social mental health opportunities.
Okay.
The part of it should provide that looks like, we already have some of this.
And I wanted to get your penmanship.
We're getting there.
We're not linking.
And your fine drawing skills.
It's almost so much that.
Well, let's just, we're gonna pick this one, right?
Yeah.
We're just gonna pick this, let's just pick,
So do we want to take that environment or do we just want to say supportive?
That's why I want to take staff out, just say, we're going to ensure a supportive environment.
Environment.
well, our thing is, like, where do we want this? What's the itty bitty thing we wanna make sure gets covered? Is it counseling?
We'll ensure a supportive environment
Is
so
it
so that,
mental health, youth mental health first aid?
so they'll
For
be
the
able
staff
to,
too.
so they will be able to
I know,
perform.
you can see, I know, hopefully you'll be able
We
to,
can.
but like all these ideas.
In mental health services, if you just put like little prongs, I mean, we don't have to list them all, but that is like,
I'm in charge of talking about, let's make,
Or, you know, adequate funding the program, like, oh, the kids are just,
Yeah, okay. I'm just taking over.
I'm not even selling it. I just like, give me the big ideas. Just fill it all out.
Okay, people, we want to provide, don't write it in 1 second.
like, do we have like 4 minutes?
their duties in the most effective. I don't think it's too.
One word.
Ensure supportive environment for staff to perform their duties effectively.
You're gonna get this
Definitely
chart
drilling down hard
They're
and
gonna
saying,
work together. To get down farther.
quarterly now, she's gonna have to write.
That's right.
Behavior,
I'm gonna say that New Hanover County
protective.
Schools will ensure a supportive
Protective
environment
factors.
for staff to effectively.
Prevention versus reaction.
That's what it's gonna be.
Okay.
You're providing protective factors.
And I love that one.
And then for the places, we want to provide, say,
So I'll tell you what I had. I didn't have a thing.
Campuses.
facilities.
For staff to perform their duties in the most effective method possible to achieve the optimal student.
Are you?
What do you think about
That's
that?
farther
I
down.
love this, because that does give you a big picture of like, because there's many.
Their duties.
I thought it was right on the wall.
Savings and
So, that's what today.
I'll put goal sticks.
That we have all of them, so they fall into an area.
Effective methods.
I don't even have your handwriting.
Using the most effective methods.
Well, it's always mentioned.
Okay.
You're trying, how do I get in training? Training is like,
Let her read through.
And so that's what
Billions of dollars, you're gonna have a foundation. I think we got something that we can.
some of it is, some of it is a serve environment for staff, so that's what we're doing.
training, some of it's not just, like, I mean, like training really do.
Well, that would be instruction.
Okay.
And I would say that that
I need to get your email.
is service. But it's also a performance-based person.
Right.
Just take out her.
Actively ensure optimal, whatever you
The
gotta
product is like the troubleshooting. The product is,
do. Just hard to use
So the most effective this one right here.
She's keeping those, just that takes it in it.
If there's a fire, don't worry, I'll get out.
Yeah, narrate it to me.
New Hampshire County Schools will ensure
think this is mine. I pray it is, it's right.
Yeah,
Better look here is here, I'll be over here.
right, right.
Environment, social, emotional,
And behavioral protective
I
factors.
can make 4. I like 4.
Mental health occurs. Let me just lost it. You're not writing.
Pathway.
Ooh, she's even got nice handwriting.
Yes.
You can put behavioral. Using the most effective. Protective, right? No, it would be social, emotional, and behavioral protective factors. So they are protective factors. All those are, okay. These descriptions of it, okay.
Method or S, I don't know.
Possible.
She always had asthma. This is fine.
And then places, you got places.
Two inch.
Like they came.
So here, hold them over there. Over there. Upside down. All on the table.
The optimal or optimal?
Yeah, we'll just.
I'm fine. I don't understand. They're kind of
Strategy? They have that's what they're
Is
gonna
that
do.
what y'all want?
That's okay.
Yes, they are. Method or method?
Methods.
It's gonna have to.
Permanent marker. No, it's fine. I still think, I still like it at an optimal level. But don't
I could put it in parentheses.
no, it's fine, because I just don't want this word to catch people to think that that's unused strategy to teach children. When it's really about their overall
I
professional.
think if I would see, part of that is
It may just be
Everybody's supposed to be
extrapolating swing.
Oh, I'm over here.
That's it, we're supposed to be talking about sheets now.
It's hard to tell.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So what
This started with you, so I'm going to give it back to you.
Thank you.
she's gonna collect those. So take this and one. Monday.
Oh, hush.
But she's gonna collect those.
He's giving, Eddie's got it right there.
Back to drawing again.
He's doing schematics. Yes. We have, look at this.
That sounds very, you know, that's stuff.
The John Madden approach. Yes. And so this is the engineering we list. She's in the.
She's already in the design phase.
Yeah.
Well, I was listening, everything I could think of and then drawing them back. Yeah.
It's very interesting how we think differently and process information differently. That was good. Thinking about this. Judy, before you leave, over on the table where the rest is sitting,
Not quite.
there's a bunch of calendars that I bought one for everybody. So pick which one
Depends on
that
what
you
your level
like.
of critical is.
They're like rip off one day, like inspirational quotes. I just bought a whole bunch of them, and so everybody's picking what speaks to them.
Well, that's really nice too, but I honestly too, my house is full of unused, unlooked at, and untouched calendars these days. I love them. I love
It's more for inspiration than checking dates, yeah.
I know it's my fault, right?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
You did so well. It is. I mean, I didn't know this was a skill. We were in a group study the other day. You're the greatest graphic. Yeah.
Is he like a good, like illustrator or something?
He's a what?
Illustrator, is he a good like artist?
Not that I knew, but obviously, yeah.
Oh, he's got a hidden talent, do you, sir? Do you want to keep that? Did you have a hidden talent?
Your penmanship.
She's taking it.
Where's all your children? Come here. Oh, mine all big. Your trash stuff is missing.
Oh, I took it off this time, but did you see my shirt?
Oh, you know what my favorite saying is about being a grandparent? I know that well. It's the icing on the cake of life.
Oh, there you go, there you go. My grandbaby's coming in on Monday, so. Get my shirt today.
Being already old.
Yep.
Again.
I work today, then I work Monday.
You're gonna love
Sorry. Getting down.
Okay. We try to make this a little easier to read, so you have it? I emailed this is your book or page, you know, this is what we got, this is what happened, so that way you kind of see in here. Let's see. So with this part of our process, I think that's family engagement. I think that's what that was. So we're going to go through each one. And if I can have any one person from the pair or three that kind of help to craft the goal statement. Thank you for being able to do that. And so we'll start with the first one. We're going to kind of go through these, any kind of general comments you want to make as we go. We're on a timer, so I'm going to be moving us along. So we'll start with the first one.
Okay, I'll go. Myself and Mr. Wilbur, I'm sorry, Mr. Boyer put this together. I believe the top line says during the next school year or over the course of the next school year and beyond. I believe that's crossed out. NHCS has a measurable increase in family engagement / involvement averaged across all schools that results in meaningful involvement for families. But then we thought without increasing teacher and staff workload. And so one of the things we landed on is not just frequency of family engagement and involvement in our school systems, but looking at innovative ways to enhance that opportunity, whether it's big or small. And so we came up with some examples around certain holidays that don't add stressors to the school administration or the teachers, and also, you know, innovative district-wide things like Dr. Faust had a Are You Faster Than a Fifth Grader? We're going to implement something similar this May where it's a big event, but more meaningful involvement. Did you have anything to say on that?
No, I think you hit it perfectly, you know, just making sure that when we do these things, we're not saying, okay, well, principals, get ready because we're doing this new thing. You have to, you know, sort of finding ways to supplement the work that our staff is doing, you know, obviously cognizant of the things that they've gone through and all the workload that they have to deal with, so.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is we have a very good way of measuring our volunteer involvement, in terms of hours. We need to do something similar, and that's why I have measurable and I originally had a 25% increase. There needs to be essentially a baseline with regard to what family involvement looks like, and then how we can further increase that.
Thank you. Any general comments about family engagement?
Just a question on exactly how would we define meaningful involvement?
So we came up with a few examples. The one that I'll speak to personally is, Veterans Day, around Veterans Day. I'll never forget the opportunity where the school invited veterans not to hold a ceremony, not to take away from the school day, but we just went into our kids' classrooms and we just read to them, but in our uniforms. And it was incredibly, it was humbling, you know, it felt like we were honored, and the kids got a kick out of it, and that was my example, but not that we don't do that, but seek opportunities that are high level of meaning but low impact to the schools themselves.
I like it. Thank you.
And if I'm not mistaken, that question, Mr. Wildeboer, would be what the staff will be doing more on Monday, is like putting down the specifics.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yes. Next one, please. So this is equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Might have to go up.
Okay.
I told you I'd have to.
Yeah, no worries.
So when we started working on that, we were kind of thinking more strategy-wise instead of maybe bigger picture. And so we went back and we added, the goal is a behavior change, because you pointed out to us that 5 years really been 5 plans. So ultimately, we want the top to be a behavior change. So we wrote down student staff report.
Ms. Walker? Ms. Walker, I'm sorry, can you talk into the microphone? You're muffled.
Is this working? Okay. So basically what we put was student and staff report in a biannual survey, 90% or higher agreement that their school/work site is an inclusive place where they have a strong sense of belonging and connectedness. And that was, the goal type was behavior change. We had initially put strategy, which is obviously a short-term goal.
Back up, Stephanie.
Sorry.
Back
Which
up.
is linked to performance, the performance goal type.
And I guess you can't read that.
It's on the front here. I know.
I think you can rotate the microphone.
Yeah.
So the strategy, which was the shorter goal performance, would be to increase enrollment of historically underrepresented students in honors, 8th grade math 1, AIG, and signature programs across the district so that enrollment in these programs mirrors student demographics. So that is what we had. That was kind of a step down of the overarching and then the one strategies.
Any comments?
First of all, that's great, but one of the things, and Ms. Crabell had just mentioned it, and we found that out rather early in our little group, is that what we're looking right now for is the goals, correct, the goal statements, and the strategies are something that they're going to be fleshing out on Monday.
Yeah.
So in our actuality too, we got a time situation, because I had things I had to do. So if we could just focus on the goals, did that make sense?
Yeah, I was just pointing out that we started out the strategy, but we bumped that up.
Next one. Okay, she's pulling that up.
You want to just read it?
So this one is is this supportive teacher and staff, or is this student safety
Yes.
and wellness?
Teacher and staff, yeah.
Teacher
Or
and
staff. We
Just one
decided, we changed the word to staff.
Okay, all right. So supportive teacher and staff environment.
Looks like
Go for it.
So this was a difficult one. We were trying not to get, we know that Monday they're going to talk about strategy specifically for this. So we just talked about looking at the specific ways to increase the staff's efficacy to better educate students.
Comment about this particular one.
Would you like to read it?
Sure.
Can you read my handwriting?
New Hanover County Schools will ensure a supportive environment for staff to perform their duties using the most effective methods possible to achieve optimal student learning.
Thank you.
Good job.
Academic performance is the next one.
Sure. I want to show off my shirt anyway.
Well, the goal, very simply, is rigorous academics for all students at all schools at all times. And we came up with just some measures that would be possible, and of course, they'll be fleshed out even more on Monday. But 90% of all third graders, that baseline number, reading on grade level by 3-year goal, 5-year goal, increase in Math 1, AP, IB, and CTE, and then 90% graduation rate. And then we finally had a CTE offering career opportunities, giving those late elementary and early middle school students the chance to explore those opportunities so that they didn't get to 8th grade and say, oh my goodness, I don't know which way I want to go. So they had a good baseline of that, so they would actually have a clear idea of, do we want to go to the early college? Do we want to go to C-Tech? Do we go into regular school and one of the regular high schools and follow a certain path in there? So.
Comments or thoughts about this particular area that you want to see captured?
only have 4 pictures.
You didn't get the other one?
I don't have 4 pictures.
Then can we just go to
The last one?
Safety and wellness.
safety and wellness?
Okay, so, can you hear me? Should I talk louder?
I can hear you.
Okay, safety and wellness, we had to, kind of get permission to have 2 goals because they're 2 parallel, safety and wellness things. So, but overall, we said to provide facilities and services focused on safety and wellness to enhance teaching and learning. So that is like the 30,000 look. And then we broke it down into, like for the A and the B, people versus places. So people things in our goal would be to provide social, emotional, behavior, and protective, preventive factors in that. And we went down to ground level, so I'm not even going to read all those, but we started getting there with what those people things look like. And then places, basically to provide safe and secure facilities at all. And then we also got down onto the ground and started listing some of the things that we might do there. So it's basically providing facilities and services that focus on safety and wellness. Knowing that we have emotional safety, people safety, and the physical safety, the places. So, oh, you got it, okay. So yeah, we diverged and listed a couple things in the grass, but that's okay because that just got us thinking about that. But so they'll work more on those. But we also found, just FYI, that this goal is probably going to take a lot of interdepartment discussion, and so it may show up in, well, it probably will show up in everybody's goals somewhere because of the vastness of the topic.
And in your handout, in your packet, in the PowerPoint, there's a slide that's titled Considerations Back to the Mental Health Focus. What we noticed is that that was common across all areas. So we were looking at the feedback information. Those individuals that responded in the variety of ways that we highlighted indicated that mental health was a focal point, or that it should be a focal point. So it's indicated in the data.
Yes.
It can be seen across all those areas.
Just say. No, and one of the things, Ms. Barnum wanted me to add in because she thought it was important for us just to say that we want to make sure that in the next 2 years that all of our staff is trained on the youth mental health first aid. You know, just some, but again, we're still down the weeds, but we feel really strongly that we had to say our weeds out loud.
Any other thoughts or comments about this particular area? Okay, community partnerships, I think?
Yep.
That's where we are? That's
Okay.
the next one? And
So we came up with, New Hanover County Schools will enhance community partnerships by standardizing and simplifying the partnership process by building awareness regarding district needs and recruiting at least 10 business and community partners a year over the next 5 years.
thoughts, comments?
Awesome. Yeah, we need it.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
I would just like to say, we said 10, but I think that we could definitely do better than that because I know our community wants to be involved in our system. We just need to open up that door wider and give them the process to do so. So there's a lot of work that we can do here, and I'm excited.
Just, again, any comments or thoughts about this particular area? If not, Anita, if we could go to the PowerPoint. So,
Sorry, you're cutting out. You're getting your microphone. You need to go to the.
oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
If you could go back to the PowerPoint and go to the slide that is, it's next to the last, the strategies and action steps. So as we're kind of moving through the process, I think we need to give ourselves a hug, a hand clap, or however you want to celebrate. But we just got through crafting the narratives for 6 areas of focus as it relates to goals in the strategic plan. So, yay, we're moving in the direction that we need to. So in terms of just thinking about the strategies that we're going to develop and begin to tease out on Monday, and so you could go to the next, oh, I have that somewhere in here, don't I? Okay, thanks. So we're going to have a work session. It will be virtual. That will be Monday in the afternoon. So we have a couple of hours scheduled for that. I think it's a good time now to kind of point out to staff or to the cabinet that we will be referring back to these photos that we see. So I don't know if we can go ahead and send those photos of all of the goals to all of us in the room, board and staff included, but in particular staff, because this will be our launching pad for Monday for us to begin to do more work. So we'll review those goal statements. We will work through a SWOT analysis as it relates, which is typical for this in a strategic planning process. We will work through and do an analysis, a SWOT analysis related to each goal. We'll talk about strategy. We've heard some of that today. And to that end, if you would share with Nancy and I or give to Nancy and I the notes that you've taken on your individual sheets, as well as if your group completed or wrote any notes or comments on a singular sheet that represented your team or represented your group. And we'll find a way to connect that information or give that information to the cabinet as well. We'll be working on action steps as it relates to that on Monday as well. So any questions about just kind of what we set out to do today, what we were able to do, and what we're planning? I'll just say up to Monday. Nancy, did you have any comments? Okay. Yes.
I would just like to say, I want to thank everybody for their hard work today, and I think that we have a good start. So I think I'm excited to see where this is going to go.
Okay.
Dr. Palmer, I was looking in, trying to find back on the slide. I know that the one said that the next thing we're doing is Monday. After, just not to like really hold your feet to the fire or anything, but after we do Monday, you know, you guys gather all that, you start processing it and putting it together. What kind of timeline are we looking for you to come back and talk to the board and the cabinet together about what we're doing?
We usually say about 4 calendar weeks. Now, we could do it maybe quicker because I know you're on a rush to get this for your budget. But after Monday, much of it will be individual work of the staff to fill in the blanks on the template we're going to hand them. And so I think we should probably defer to the staff and Dr. Faust as to how quickly you think after Monday you can put together a more detailed plan. But it shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks, so if you can kind of look at your calendar and the schedules and what's coming up between now and the next few weeks, I'll just defer that to you all because it will mostly be staff work after Monday. We may assist individually.
So, so we would definitely need to speed that date up because we're getting ready to start our budget conversations and we'll be the board will see a budget calendar. And so we definitely will need to, some of these are going to we'll have to put dollar figures to them. So I don't think we can do 4 weeks for a calendar. I think on Monday, I mean, we'll talk, but our goal on Monday is to put action items that will stick and then bring it back to the board. Let the board then do the final yay, nay, let's wordsmith this, so that we can possibly have something in everyone's hand by the end of February, like it's done. But we would need that. We have to have that.
So the board meeting date is?
We have February 1st coming up and February 15th coming up. So maybe by the 15th, we might be able to, I mean, because again, it depends on you guys.
We will.
Yeah, so
We've got all Monday
maybe let's
afternoon.
like shoot for February 15th-ish and see where we are. If we need to have a special board meeting, you know, just because, you know, but that would be a good time, and we can carve out whatever time we need in our meeting to have, we have a work session at the beginning, so we can carve that time out, this is so important to us.
Well, and what, I think what'll be helpful is that we'll provide the template for documenting all of the information that we'll go over on Monday. And so once we kind of come out of that, we'll know how much is left. Because again, Monday is 2 hours.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how far we get with each of the areas. I think there was a staff person as a part of each work area, I do believe.
Yeah.
And so maybe we need to think about that person, that staff person being the point person for that particular piece, and kind of working with us to make sure that the documents are filled in. Does that sound, I'm not the authority as to, as to matter of fact, that's kind of, but we can facilitate that. But it is, we're gonna have to build in that time to once we walk away from Monday, how much do we have left? And then we'll have to determine in that moment when and where we're gonna spend the time to complete that. So we're available to facilitate it, but you just kind of have to tell us where on the calendar.
We'll have people ready.
Okay.
To do, because we really and truly have got to get this back to the board.
Okay, yep.
So does anybody else have any comments? Thank you so much, for doing that. I don't think any of this was something that we already weren't prepared to see as a result of all the surveys and the data collection. So it's always nice that our brains are already on the same path to getting, knowing where we want to go, that GPS. So hearing no more, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.